Are you ready to jump into wholesaling but struggling to find investors to buy your deals? You're not alone. Wholesaling thrives on connecting motivated sellers with eager investors, but finding those investors is key to your success. In this video, Paul and I are going to share the best strategies to find real estate investors who are ready to fund your wholesaling deals. So, Paul, let's start off with who are real estate investors in wholesaling? I could take this one here. Investors like us, we're always looking for deals to flip, to buy for rentals, the hold for appreciation, whatever it may be. And we primarily target and buy from auction sites and, off the MLS deals from wholesalers. So me and Paul are an example of investors that are looking to buy from wholesalers. And if you're a wholesaler, your end market are basically fix and flippers like me and Paul, people that are buy and hold landlords, or these large hedge fund institutional buyers that are just looking to gobble up a ton of properties in a certain demographic. And as I mentioned earlier, wholesalers kind of feed an acquisition funnel piece for end buyers like Paul and myself, where, we buy primarily off auctions. However, wholesalers bring us deals all the time, and it's ways for us to find discounted off-market properties that aren't on the MLS yet. And I don't have to then spend all this time marketing and talking to home sellers. I'm just being presented what the wholesaler's value is by finding this deal. And it saves me and Paul and other investors a lot of time and effort by not having to do all that marketing. So that's kind of like the definition of what a real estate investors, wholesalers doing. Next, let's talk about now, if you're a wholesaler, how do you build a real estate investor list, Paul? What are some things that worked for you in the past?
I mean, back in the day, it was the bread and butter was Craigslist, and Craigslist still works, right? But now you've got Facebook Marketplace, and within Facebook Marketplace and Facebook, you've got all these real estate investor groups. So you look to join these different groups. A lot of them, you could just post your deals in that group and you'll be able to sell them that way, because there's a lot of investors like Michael and I out there trying to find deals. It's not easy to find deals in this market, right? So if you find a good deal, you post it on there. If it's a good deal, you're going to have people sending you direct messages trying to buy that property for sure. That's going to be the best and the easiest. The other one that's been a bread and butter for everybody, and I still get them all the time, is the postcards, because we buy in all these different markets. As a matter of fact, I just got a postcard for, I think it was Gaylord, Michigan, that we had bought in a property there, and I just got a text message again from probably that same person. They don't just hit you with a postcard, but they hit you with a text message too, to follow up and send details. Texting has become big. Postcards obviously are a great way to do it and just continue to build your list, because basically what you're doing is pulling active buyers in that particular market, and then they're generally going to be some of the best cash buyers out there for you.
Yep. Yeah, they're buying because that's how you got them on the public records, basically. Another good examples that worked for me too is just old school networking 101, especially if you're going to wholesale in a certain market. Go to that local real estate meetups in that area, the RIAs, the real estate investment associations. Those are plenty of people there that have funding for deals, or they want to buy them themselves. So it's another option to introduce yourself as a wholesaler and kind of share your value proposition and the deals that you have there. And then lastly, this is like an extra hack where in the past, I've actually attended live auctions like sheriff sale and tax sales to figure out who was bidding, because those people that are building at those auctions are real buyers. Might as well connect with them afterwards too. So you have to go to your local county to figure out when those dates and times are. So again, all great options to help build your real estate buyer list there. Next kind of question you're going to get a lot is, how to attract investors to your deal. What kind of marketing works out there essentially because Paul, right? We're on a bunch of email lists since we buy across the country, and sometimes it's just the sea of the sameness. And how does a wholesaler stick out to make sure, hey, this is a deal? What do you see? What do you recommend, or what do you see that sometimes catches your eye from a wholesaler marketing piece? Because to be honest, right, 9 out of 10 of them aren't deals, or their numbers are terribly off. But of the 10%, how do I know it's a 10%er where it's a potential deal? What would stick out in marketing to you as a buyer?
The number one key thing, especially what you and I look at, Mike, because we see so much junk out there from wholesalers, is their price point. Be realistic with your price point. Don't try to get MLS pricing. That's not your market, right? That's not who you're selling to. So when we see something that's priced well, one, two, they have a good list of renovations, of actual real renovations, saying, they're not telling you a replacement of roof is $4,000 when we know it's $8,000 or $12,000. So have realistic numbers out there. The more realistic your numbers are, and even if you puff them up and make them even a little bit more, people will appreciate that. because you're still showing it's a deal even with higher numbers on there. So
Yeah.
from our perspective, we like that. We just don't get a whole lot of those unfortunate wholesalers out there because most people are trying to get too much because the market has been so frothy over the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Another quick check I do anymore is like I won't even analyze a property. I'll just take their existing after repair value minus the repairs they put in their email. And if I just take after repair times 70 minus repairs and compare that to their asking price, okay, they didn't account for profit for me. They didn't account for holding
Right.
costs or financing costs. So it's you got to know your numbers
You
if
do.
you want to be taken seriously. Because once I see a certain wholesale deal from a wholesaler, I just delete it automatically because I know it's probably not a deal after seeing that once or twice. Something that just came to my mind are different way or extra ways to find real estate investors that we didn't cover earlier, Paul. So I figured I'd just share them real quick. It
Yep.
just popped in my head as we were going through the video here is partner with real estate agents too. They can introduce you to their investor clients. Again, you could probably meet those agents at local RIAs. Network with hard money lenders because the hard money lenders are lending to real buyers because they're lending on the deal. So that's another example. And then also network to title companies and attorneys out there. Like they're doing all the closing. So those are the actual people buying. So that's just another way to continue to add to your buyers list. I just want to throw that in there.
And I want to top something on top of that too, because this goes back to when we were doing a lot of deals, when we had 20 some in a given month, right? The best way to really dispo them quickly is if you have your local RIA, like let's say Dig was ours in Philadelphia, right? And they have subgroups that meet in the, say, Delaware County, Bucks County, Montgomery County. You go to those subgroups with your deals and you have a printed flyer and you're handing out to people. I sold so many deals that way. So many.
Yeah.
If you price it right and you do that, but you've got actual people that are at those meetings who want to buy more deals. They're there hoping that more deals come to them. So it's going to be one of your best resources. That was on top of some of the other RIAs and things you were talking about. The meetup groups are always great, but the local subgroups from the big group end up being some of your hungriest buyers out there.
Yeah. Good point. Do you think it's in the best interest for wholesalers to build long-term relationships with investors, or should they just treat it as like a transactional thing? What's your opinion on that?
Well, if they're going to be in a particular market and focus on that market, you're going to generally have anywhere from 5 to 10 really good buyers, consistent buyers that, and so you want to make sure you're feeding them with good deals. If you give them deals that are so tightly margined that they're losing money, they're not going to want to look at your deals, right? Or they're breaking even. You want to make sure that there's good meat on the bone, have good relationships with them, and don't, I may only make 10,000 on this one, but I may make 35,000 on the next one. That's the way you got to look at it, right? A deal is a
Yeah.
deal, and sometimes you're going to not get as much as other deals. That just, hey, it's par for the course. That's what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Good stuff, Paul. So to recap, right, from networking to leveraging online tools that we talked about, finding cash buyer investors for wholesaling is all about creating value, understanding your numbers, and building relationships, like Paul just said. So start building your investor list today. Every contact should be your next deal close, hopefully. And we actually have some older videos on, 33, 34 different ways, something like that, to build a cash buyers list. So I'll add that video in the link as well. And if you found this helpful, like, subscribe, drop a comment below. Let us know how you're finding investors for your wholesaling business. And if you got any deals, and send them to me and Paul as well, too. So
Absolutely.
always happy looking by.